But I really love what you're doing. I don't like know a ton about you like personally. I'd love to to get to know you. But I've always said this. I love connecting with people who are really curious. You seem like a really curious
microphone test.
person.
Good. No audio.
Curious people create great things. They have big imaginations and they have wonder, and I just think like that is how great things start.
Yeah.
And so I've followed a lot of the stuff that you've been doing, and I love it. I love just the different angle. And
that seriously means a lot. I'll tell you a quick story. So, like, I always think in terms of what was the piece of content or pieces of content that I consumed that really like got me inspired to want to be in the arena. Billy Yang. Oh. I miss his podcast, by the way.
I know.
I really miss that podcast because he has such good rapport with people like you do. And he did, like, one of his very first interviews was with Topher Gaylord.
Oh,
it was like episode 3 or 4 where they just talk about the industry and like nerd out on how to like get into the scene and like be like a product manager at Element or whatever. I was like, this is so cool. And it was like, okay, how'd you fuel? How'd you train, etc. But that was a totally different conversation. And then I think it was just one of, because Billy is so multifaceted, right? Like he'll have like 7 different themes going in the pod, and I just wanted more of that particular theme. Yeah. And I even messaged Billy. I was like, Billy, like the reason I got into podcasting was because of that episode. Yeah. Like that was sick.
That's so cool. I love hearing that. I think the content creators in the sport have a lot of opportunity because one, it's needed. We need a variety of it. Yep. The sport's exploding, right? Yep. Like so. You know, anyone that's creating stuff right now, that's helping the sport grow. So, but Billy's, I mean, he's iconic, right? He's so creative. He's well spoken. He's just like those early years, even before we did Western Time. He was helping me with fitness videos because I started my own fitness business in like 2007 or whatever. So he was like helping me with like fitness videos and So we've like been friends, dreaming together for a while. I mean, we used to go on runs together, and he would talk about things, dreaming up things he wanted to do. I always talk about, you know, how things that I want to do, particularly being able to make running a career. But
and he's so good at putting people at ease too.
Yeah.
Like that was one thing I also picked up from his podcast and from yours. Like he can get like instant rapport and like make someone feel comfortable and ready to like, you know, tastefully go into stuff that they might not, you know, disclose in like a standard, you know,
I love
live interview.
So you're from the East Coast.
I'm from
Is still there?
Most of them are in New England. I have some family in Utah that were like early in the ski industry out there. Like, have you done Speedgoat?
I haven't been to the race. I've been to like that whole area. So run like those trails.
Aunt and uncle worked at Snowbird since like the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And so we were going out for years, and I think the formative year for me was the O2 Olympics. Yeah. Salt Lake was the host, and so flew out there. It was like post 9/11, so like no one was really traveling. Ski resort was empty. The snow was great. Skied every day during the day, and then like in the evening watched like Apollo O&O speed skating. I was like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to get back here at some point. It took me like 15 years, but then I moved back in 17.
So did you grow up skiing, or did you grow up? Were you a ball sports?
I was ball sports. I was like football, baseball, basketball.
That's good.
And then and played that a little bit through college, and then through ITH.
I'm like, I've always been given a hard time for that too. Like, let's just, you know, you own your path. It doesn't matter what you look like, kind of thing. But I'm like, how fun for us to like rip out of Forest Hill together. I go after you.
Is he pacing you?
Huh?
Is he pacing you?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's what I'm saying. I was like, come.
Okay. Are we audio good?
This is so typical of me too. I'm just like, there's no intro. We're just already talking. We're in it thick. We dive in.
Well, that's been great.
You will run Western States. I told him that. Yeah. But anything that he does brings a lot of attention, like in a great way to a wider, more diverse audience too. Yep. So.
Yep.
Anyway, do you guys have like an official intro?
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. So we are back. This is our first show on Wednesday of Western States Week. I'm your host, Finn Melanson, co-host, friend, and colleague Brett Hornig. Sally McRae is in studio with us. I will introduce her formally in a second. Quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Brooks. Brooks has the new Cascadia 18 trail shoe coming out. It's right here in front of us next month, early July. They've also got an awesome High Point clothing collection. Some of you who have been watching this live stream in past days have seen me wearing their wind pants, their rain pants in studio indoors. They're that comfortable, at least for me. I don't know. I like it. It was a choice. It was a choice. Anyways, go check it out. brooksrunning.com/Singletrack. Also thanks to NAC, Delta G Ketones, and Rabbit for making all this possible. Sally, we have already kicked off our conversation 15 minutes ago, but welcome. We really appreciate you being here.
It's such an honor that you chose me to come on this show. I've seen the string of people that you have, like all these incredible athletes. So I was at first confused why you had me in the lineup, but like such an honor. As I said earlier, I have been following what you've been doing, what both you guys have been doing, and I love what you guys bring to the sport. Yeah. The way you've really raised the bar too, just as far as like content conversations you're having. Yeah. So I'm stoked just to like get to know you more and connect with you. Super cool.
Well, we're just trying to make some fans of the sport, you know.
And we just love it, you know. We just love it. But I think to your point, and you are one of the reasons why I became passionate about the sport. And I think a lot about sort of like the evolutionary chain of performances and just like work in the sport. And a lot of things that are happening today, in my opinion, don't happen if people like you and Billy and Ethan Newberry aren't grinding between like 2014 and like 2019 to make this stuff possible. So we don't exist if you don't set the table.
I appreciate that. I mean, those years, Billy actually, we keep texting each other. He's sending me like memories from 10 years ago being at Western States together. And I realized that, you know, 2014 in our sport was like when the sport was literally exploding. That's when all the brands were coming into it and people were newly getting signed. So still being in the sport right now, a decade later, I'm really proud of that for various reasons outside of performance. Just knowing I got to be a part of like really trailblazing it, not only for like women, but just as a whole. I love the sport. I love what the sport is, even far outside of like the medals and, you know, talking to the top 10 people all the time. I think that the community is incredible, and the content that's put out there, it brings people in. You know, they want to experience, you know, this, not only the community, but just like pushing their bodies. And I'll tell you, some of my best friends have come out of this sport. So, but seeing the sport change over the course of the last 10 years, I've had a front row seat to that. And I've been able to be a part of that in so many ways. So I'm just very grateful that I'm still here. And I think that's kind of rare, especially for someone my age too. I mean, I came in later as a mom, but I've been able to really enjoy these 10 years in many ways. So.
Yeah, I mean, and 10 years with the same sponsors.
Yeah.
Like that's a long time for like being with any brand.
Or any sport.
Yeah.
Or any job, anywhere.
Job,
like it's very consistent. We were actually on a run this morning with someone you might know. His name's Pat Werhane.
Oh, God. I
the
love
legend.
Pat.
Yeah. And
huge shout to Pat, because he's the one who believed in me from the beginning. And there's a lot of background that people don't know about the things that he did in order to help me grow in the sport.
Yeah, and just the initial building of that first trail team. You know, because he was like, dude, 10 years ago, he was like, Mackenzie was this big. And she's like off running at NAU. He's like, I think he like almost lost it there in the parking lot, but he was like, it's so cool to see.
Pat's a true OG of the sport. He's quiet if the audience doesn't know who he is.
Pat's a ghost.
He is. He's been working at Nike since he was like 19. He used to work at like the front desk of the at the Nike headquarters and at the fitness center, and just kept moving up his way, you know, in the ranks in his position. And I think that when he first reached out to me, I actually thought it was a joke.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. He said you didn't believe the email.
I didn't. Because I mean, at that time too, like I really was trying to get sponsors. I knew I wasn't the best girl in the nation. I didn't have a ton of confidence in myself. This was still at a time too when, even though I did play, you know, I was doing well at like, I knew I had to do big races. You had to be a part of Lake Sonoma. You had to do like win some key races. Yeah, Sean O'Brien. Like those things were, if you were going to make it, you had to line up at those and do well. But you know, I also knew I was different in the sport, and you know, I didn't look like an endurance runner. And so when Nike reached out to me, I was like, dude, there's no way. This company's so big. What? And I don't look like their typical endurance athletes. Like, but Pat was great. you know, when he brought me in, I was the only girl on the team, and there was 10 of us. But I'd say that even as that team grew, I mean, Pat made sure, like, I probably did more photo shoots than anyone on that team. A year into my sponsorship, they knew I was a coach. So I was running my own business at that time, an online coach. I was also like a trainer, fitness trainer. And so Nike was like, dude, do you want to be a Nike coach? Yeah. And like that changed my life too, because like that was a whole different like contract. And then I ended up being on the app. So even now, if you run with the Nike app, like I'm in there, I'll coach you through workouts. I give you attaboys at the end of your run. You hear my voice. And then other departments started to pick up on me too. So I've done a ton of speaking at Nike, whether it's to their human resources or their fitness trainers. They have been and I think that's where I kind of learned what it was to be a real like sponsored athlete. Like if you want to cement yourself as a great athlete, you have to be a business person. And I was like, I'm a businesswoman, and it isn't about like what's the number on the contract or what is this brand going to do for me, but I have to say like, this is what I can do for you. And I learned a lot in that first year, but Pat always was throwing my name in the hat in every area. I've done huge shoots with Nike running. I've flown around the world as a sports tech. So I'll go on photo shoots when they are putting out their product, and I work with like the photographers and the creative directors and make sure that the runners actually look like runners. So I've been given all these jobs through Nike that didn't really have a lot to do with me as an athlete. But I think that because of that, I learned so much about opportunity and what it means to be a professional athlete, and also paving your way for when you're done. I think, you know, in the beginning, so many athletes were being, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but ultra trail athletes were like low hanging fruit. Yeah. And it's like, tricky. They're like, dude, they're going to give me free product. I'm like, that free product amounts to like $40, but who you are is so much more valuable. So I've spent a lot of years too, encouraging a lot of my friends who are pros. They'll show me the contracts. They'll be like, what do I say when I negotiate? And there's so many different avenues when this sport was starting out that none of us knew about. I mean, people get signed and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to have like these conversations. And I think, you know, I started working really young. And so I took a lot of that, a lot of my business and job experience, and translated it into, okay, let's like really dig into what it means to be a professional athlete. At the end of the day, as much as people don't want to admit it, you have to sell product. Everything is going to come down to money and power. And if you don't see that in the most black and white way, you are going to have a hard time standing in the sport. Like, I think we come in naively thinking like, all these brands, they believe in me and my running. They're excited about me training. Like, they're also excited about what you're going to do for them. This isn't lay out the red carpet, throw a bunch of money at you. Brands want to know that you're going to bring value to them. And so I think that there have in the past been a lot of amazing athletes that weren't well supported, and people are always confused by that. And if you look at what these athletes were doing for the community or what they could offer to the brand, a lot of the times they didn't want to expose those sides of them. So it's like, dude, expose your abilities, expose your personality. Like, what is your story? You're so much more than a runner. And I think that professional athletes especially need to know that. And that's across all sports. Like, you're more than your sport. And if you don't believe that about yourself, then you're going to have a hard time when you're in your low season, your injury season, when brands are dropping you, and when you retire. And so I'd say for the last 10 years, that is something I've always kept my mind on, is don't let a brand define you. Don't let a brand dictate your path or your dreams or your goals. That is for you to own. And it's not easy. You're going to feel lonely. You're going to have brands turn you down. You're going to have brands drop you and like people not champion that. But if you stay true to that, you're going to pave a way that you're going to be proud of, and you will find people that will want to work with you. Because at the end of the day, brands also love authenticity. They love stories. I mean, that's kind of like one of the biggest things in marketing right now. It doesn't matter if it's toilet paper or Nestle Cocoa. People want to tell a human story. And so if you remain human and authentic in who you are, I mean, that's the most powerful thing that you have. I think athletes today, so often they get caught up in waiting for a brand to bring them value. and they completely miss the fact that they themselves have so much value to give already. And if we think that a brand brings us value when we're dropped by a brand, I mean, I've seen it destroy athletes. They go through months of, I've lost myself in the sport. I need like months to find my joy again. I've lost my joy in the sport. And it's like, dude, you have to know who you are before you're signed. You have to be aware of your goals and dreams and your value and who you are as a person. A brand does not make you valuable. They can support you. They can help pay your bills, but they are not the one that makes you valuable. And I think that you have to believe that in your heart. They can bring value to your brand. But you have to see the value in yourself first, because that's what helps you get through the hard times. Yeah.
I think one of the things that you said there was, well, at least the takeaway for me was diversifying your influence with your partners and finding all these jobs to be done. And like, if you're qualified or if you think you can do it, like lean in, right? I have this friend who's in the road running community, Sam Parsons, and he was an intern at Adidas one summer. And I think his job was to be like, just typing up reports for their soccer division, but he made it a point every single day to just walk around campus and become like the mayor of Adidas Terex Portland. And he would just pop into offices and say like, what problems are you dealing with? Like, what's going on? Like, what do you need help with? And I think by the end of the summer, he had like 5 full-time offers from like 3 different departments. And so I think that that's one of the interesting things in our sport is like, you know, you're signed as an athlete and maybe you're judged on performance or whatever X number of social media posts with Y% engagement, but like your story of like being integrated into the fitness app, and I don't know, like you became multifaceted, which is so interesting.
And I didn't go to school for those things. No. And I think that one of the things I always leaned on when I was building my career was, you know, I started actually working when I was 7. I had 2 jobs by the time I was 15. At 15, I knew I wanted to be a professional athlete as a soccer player. So I was playing on 2 different teams at that time. But over the course of my life, I've had over 20 jobs. And I think that when I got signed as a Nike athlete, I took all of that experience. Like I really understood, and I worked in so many different industries. I understood the business side of things very well. I really understood that relationship building is one of the most important things that you can do, is build good relationships and be professional and have a voice in who you are and really learn how to navigate all that. So when Pat would offer me these things, I would just with confidence just be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. I can totally do that. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what in the world am I going to do? Like, I remember I flew down to South America for like 2 weeks. It was the big Nike summer photo shoot. It was all the sports across the board. And they're like, we're going to need you. We have some Olympic track athletes we need you to coach to do this photo shoot. And I was like, I've never done that in my life. Like, it was like Fred Curley, you know,
how
the sprinter.
do starting blocks work?
I'm not kidding. So I'm like with Fred Curley, and they're like, can you warm him up and then just like show him some of the things that we're going to do? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I remember taking Fred Curley out. I was like, let's go warm up for a run. We're 200 meters in. He's like, this is way too long. I do not warm up like this.
Like 5-mile warm up.
He's an awesome guy. Like we became friends. Like Fred's awesome. But like I remember just learning along the way, and really the experience is how you get good at something. You dive right in. But my first year, I remember telling Eddie, my husband, this. I said, if I'm asked to do anything, the goal for me in these first couple of years is yes. I will do anything. I don't care what the pay is. I don't care if they're asking me to do it for free. And there were so many times that they say, hey, can you fly here in 2 days? Yes. The answer is yes. Can you do this? Can you speak here? Yes, I can do that. I can speak. I can lead this. I can do that. So I did a lot of things just because I was trying to gain the experience. I was trying to build the relationships and really figure out the business side of what was going on. And I think that's incredibly valuable. I think one thing that athletes will very easily forget, especially athletes that want to do their sport as a career. So if someone wants to be just a professional ultra or trail runner, I think it's important to also recognize that on average, just humans anyway, have anywhere between 500 and 800 abilities. And we have so many abilities that we don't even know about because we don't even attempt to try it, or maybe we believe what's true to be of ourselves because of other restraints that people have said, like, oh, you're slow, and so you could never be fast, or, you know, you're this or you're that. And so it's really easy to operate in these same boxes, or just think that I'm good at this one thing that I know to be good at, and so that's all I can do, that's all I have to offer. But I try to encourage people, whether it's when I'm speaking to them or it's someone that I'm coaching, think about all the things you actually are good at. I mean, even things like being someone who's hospitable and good at serving others and good at helping, think about how that plays out in, hey, dude, you'd be great at at helping out at a running camp. What could you do at a running camp that would like insert yourself in the Brooks running camp? Because you're great at serving, you're a team player. But I think that if we take the time to look at our abilities, they fit in a lot of areas within running or whatever industry that you're in.
Everyone in the chat just like feverishly writing notes.
Yeah.
They want. Do you have an agency?
Oh, there's a live chat going. I didn't even know there's a live chat going on.
Can you be an agent? They're asking. Are you an agent?
Can Sally represent me in the athletic world?
I will say this is a side that a lot of people don't know. I don't advertise this. I don't charge for this, but I have helped many athletes with their contracts.
I was curious
and even
about that.
fellow professional athletes that run for different brands, and I've taught them how to talk to people, because I didn't know in the beginning. But one of the most important things, and this would be great for people that are like, dude, how do I navigate this, is you have to set the standard, and you absolutely have to stand your ground. And so often when I would talk to athletes, they're like, dude, I just got my next year's contract. It's not what I was hoping it would be. I'm actually like super bummed. I don't have any other offers though. And I would say to them, always aim high. Like, actually, what would be like a wild number for you? Well, and I'm going to be like, I'm just throwing out random numbers. These aren't even real numbers.
We don't have to talk specifics.
I'm not talking specifics.
$1 million.
Yeah. So this person's like, well, like 70,000. And oh god, cool, that's your wild number. Go ask for 100,000. No way, dude. They won't even return my message if I do that. Like, what if I make them mad? What if I make? And the athlete starts to get so caught up in the feelings of the company. And I'm like, let me tell you, if this is especially some of these bigger companies, they have very thick skin, and they are used to talking numbers. Also, they will never, ever offer you the highest number possible. They're going to offer you the number that's going to also allow them to sign several other athletes. So if you go and say 100,000, what's the worst thing that could happen if you said that? I don't know, like they'd be offended, they'd be mad, or they wouldn't counter it, or they say, never mind. And I'm like, but you hold that standard because you need to know your worth. And if you've done A, B, and C, and you come to them and say, hey, I've done all this, this is also what I can do for you. I mean, that's important too. I've told every athlete, don't just say like, sign me, I have these races I want to run. You need to say, this is my value. This is what I can bring to your company. Companies want to know that you're valuable. They want to know that you're going to make them money and that you're going to sell them product. And again, I know that sounds super harsh, but at the end of the day, that's the end game for every brand. That's why they show up to these big races. That's why they get the top names. Who's marketable? Who's going to sell their shoes? That is great. You're going to get on the podium too, but you better be selling their product on a daily basis too.
Throughout your time in the sport, you know, it sounds like you've gotten to take a look at a lot of different contracts. Have you noticed them changing over the past 10 years? Are they getting better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, in the beginning when I first started, there was a very small group of us who could actually say we were professional athletes. Professional athlete is you can make a living on being in that sport. And it's just across the board. Basketball player, football player, runner. And that was rare. Yeah. I think that, athletes had to kind of choose. I will take this really crappy contract that's giving me like $3,000 for the entire year. And they're saying like, oh, we'll pay for your travel and we'll give you unlimited gear. I'm like, that is a terrible contract. That's not a professional contract. That is, there's influencers and people that they're mailing on Instagram that are getting $2,000 for one post. I mean, this is true. I know people that get $2,000, $5,000 for one post to talk about a new shoe that's coming out. And yet there's athletes that are getting $5,000 for an entire year of hard work and training. It's very upside down. I would say to a great rule of advice, dude, if you don't know anything about business and marketing, advertising, do yourself a favor and do like an online class. Like really dig in to all the different facets of what is going on and how brands actually work with people, not just athletes. How do they work with people? Why is it that they're bringing in, this is perfect, and I love him. Why are they bringing Snoop Dogg into the Olympics? Why do you think they're bringing him in? I mean, that guy has been marketable for decades. Yeah. He's amazing. His personality.
40 million Instagram followers.
Yeah, he's incredible. So you think about, are they bringing him in? Has he been a track athlete his whole life? I mean, is that a career that we've been following, right? So I'd say, okay, that's something you can learn though. As an athlete, maybe you aren't the best out there. Maybe you don't have like a big following, but what are all the abilities that you have? What can you offer this brand? And it could be anything from, hey, I can show up once a month. I can lead a trail run. I can give a talk on nutrition. Just so you know, I'm not afraid to talk to people. I can show up in an expo and do this. And so, you know, in the beginning, I think athletes were waiting for these great contracts. Contracts were terrible. Now they're much better. They are so much better. Athletes can actually live and be professional athletes. I have never seen so many athletes be able to move to the Western States course or to Flagstaff for 2 months and train just for Western States. That is a beautiful sign that the sport is changing and the athletes are being supported. When I started, I had to get I had to like 7 or 8 sponsors in order to make an honest living. I also I love creating, I love having my own business, and I also, even though, and now I can live entirely off my sports contracts, but I always have the end game and goal too. I have that big picture perspective where I'm like, as I said earlier, I will not let a brand only being the value and be my paycheck. I'm gonna build my own brand. I'm gonna build my own thing. And I'm gonna have my own stream of income regardless if I'm running or not. If I have to take 2 years off because whether it's I have a baby or I'm injured or something happens or I get dropped by everyone, I wanna know I can still stand on my own 2 feet in the sport that I love and make a name for myself. And I think that every single athlete can do that too. I don't think I'm extra special or have something extra special to offer. It's just putting in the reps and putting in the work. You got to do your homework. You got to do your research. I'm a research junkie, and I pay attention to what brands are doing. I pay attention to what athletes are doing. But also, I come in as a businesswoman and know that, hey, you can stay in this for a long time. Just like Snoop Dogg, even though he's not putting out top 1 hits all the time, he's still in the game. He's in the game of putting himself out there and being known for a reason. And there's something you can learn from him. But you look at the greats in every sport. My favorite athletes are basketball players. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like huge respect. These guys worked so hard, but they were so good at making a brand of who they are. And runners can do that too. And I think that we're just at the cusp of that right now, where they're really starting to see that.
So you think we're going to see an even bigger switch sort of in favor of athlete empowerment in the next few years and livings being made?
I think so. I mean, I think one of the problems right now is we don't know what the contracts are, right? Like I've always said, hey, let's all rally together and let's all post on Instagram and say how much we're making or what's your sports. It's so backwards that baseball players and I know what all the baseball players and basketball players and football players are making.
It's in their stat profile.
Yeah, it's like, that's amazing, but that helps the sport. Now, granted, ultra and mountain running, I've always looked at it from a business perspective. I know that people are like, why aren't these athletes getting paid as much? It's like, if it can't be watched on TV, then you can't expect to pay those athletes as much. I mean, these other sports are bringing in millions of dollars in one game because you can watch it in an arena. It's an hour long. It's an hour and a half long. So I think what Jamil, what Dylan, what you guys are doing, showcasing the race, getting out into the mountains with these live cams, like really showing what this race is about. I'll tell you what, my content creation, that has been a big reason why we did films in the last 2 years. I want to expose people to the sport, but make it in a very human way so that people aren't like, those are a bunch of freaks that run 100 and 200 miles. I'm like, no, none of those films that we did last year were about only just the race. And I told Drew that when we were editing it, I was like, this needs to be a story that everyone can relate to. So you watch the films and someone who has never even run a mile before is like, wait a minute, I can go and do something that's hard. I can have an adventure. I can go into the great unknown. But at the same time, we're exposing the sport to the athletes that are in it. And it's like, dude, there's so much that we can do with this. But the more we expose it, the more that we put out there. I mean, Drew's film, the Tahoe 220, after 4 months, it hit over 1 million views. I told Drew, I'm like, you know, you're coming into this sport. I know Billy Yang was one of his big heroes, but like, think about all the jobs that's giving to our creators, the filmmakers and photographers and people like you that are getting behind these mics. I mean, this is how we're growing the sport. I love the sport so much. I understand that my job is not only to do well, is not only to train day in and day out, to get out and get on the podiums in these races, but it is to expose the sport that I love, because I want it to be here around here for a long time. I also want to see the future generation be cared for and taken care of and have opportunity, maybe that I didn't have in the beginning. So it's a super exciting time.
So on the topic of documentaries, they're slightly more commonplace now. But from what I can gather, 10 years ago, Western Time was a pretty novel production. There's actually a good conversation. I think Billy Yang and you talked about it, like sort of celebrating like 10 years on, 5 years on.
Yeah, I think in 2019 we did.
We'll link to that in the show notes. It's a good conversation. Can you story tell a bit about how that documentary even came to be, like how the opportunity was presented to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Billy and I both, we call ourselves storytellers. He's an incredible storyteller. He's very creative. I love his imagination. You ever sit down and talk to him about something, you'll probably talk about 20 different things at the same time too. I mean, he is someone that's full of wonder and is always wanting to create something, but he loves to do things very well. And when I first came into the trail running scene in 2010, that's the year I met him. So we've both been trail running. We started trail running at the same time in 2010. And those first few years when we just then started training together, it was Colin Cooley, Dave Daly, Ethan Newberry, Josh Spector. We were in the mountains all the time, and it was just fun. The core of trail running at the time is we knew it. It was fun adventuring in the mountains. And we have a genuine, true passion for the actual activity. It's far outside of the racing. So we would document just crazy stuff that we were doing. We did the SoCal triple count. I think that's still on his channel of us hitting all the highest peaks in SoCal. And then we had this dream that whoever was going to go to Western States first, we were all going. So that year, I was 2013, I think 12 and 13, we all were trying to get into Western States. Yeah. And it just so happened at the beginning of 2014, I got signed, and I just felt like pressure and the weight of the world to me. I had to go do a golden ticket race, and I was really hoping I could get into Western States. So he documented that, the Sean O'Brien race, and when I got in, it was like all of us looking at each other like, we're going to Western States. And so Ethan Newberry did a film on it. He did it more of a crewing perspective. Billy loves to tell human stories. I mean, it's hard not to watch a Billy film and not cry, even if you're not a crier, because he can get into the heart of anyone, whether you're a runner or not. And I think that's kind of what started with the journey of Western Time was we're going to showcase the race, but if you actually watch Western Time, there's not a lot of shots of me racing. Like it's me in the aid station. There's like some drama in the aid station, but Billy weaves in this really beautiful life story and a crew story. So you see the friendship I have with these guys, my love and friendship that I have with Ethan and Dave and Colin. I mean, Colin's crying after Green. We had went from 17th to 10th place. It's a very real human story of overcoming, of friendship, of believing on the most prestigious race in our sport, right? So I think that the lead up to that, we actually didn't know how the story was going to come about. 2 months after the race, I gave him the footage of me running as a 7-year-old and my mom's voice coming through. She's cheering for me. And he's just like, he called me and he's like freaking out, full Billy enthusiasm, just like, oh my gosh, like you have no idea how I'm going to put this in the film. This is going to be amazing. This whole film's going to be amazing. Like he was just like, this was August. And then October, it was finally finished. But I remember crying watching it because I was like, that is not how I would have envisioned
a Western States film, because we loved Unbreakable. Like, so we're thinking that's what we're going to get. We're going to get, like, Unbreakable is just, like, iconic, right? Who doesn't love Unbreakable? Yeah. And people were allowed to go bring cameras, like, on the entire course then. Yeah. Like, you can't do that now. But Billy, we still reminisce, he and I side by side reminisce that 2014 changed both of our lives. Because I got signed, and there was years I was talking about getting signed, and Billy was like, go for it, Sally. And he was talking about the creative things that he wanted to do. And I was like, go for it. You go for it. And he talked about everything from creating films to a podcast. And we grew together in the sport side by side. And I think as I moved on in my career, whenever I raced, people were like, where's Billy? Where's Billy? And I think we kind of understood that we had something there, because I would travel to race, but then we would get asked by the race or the local run shop, say, can you guys come speak? Can you come show the film? And we're kind of looking at each other. We're like, we think we kind of have something here. Like, there's a piece of this sport that people want that have nothing to do with, like, me racing on Saturday. Like, people want this human connection. And Billy was able to expose the human side of the sport for the entire community that the masses could relate to, but also highlight the racing part, and he did it in such a beautiful way. I mean, when Mont Blanc came out, the UTMB one, that race was never the same. I blame him every year, because I did UTMB 5 times, and I would blame him every year. I'm all, Chamonix is overcrowded because of you, because your film was so beautiful. And just like Western States, I tell Billy, I'm like, I know people won't always give you credit, but the reason why the lottery is so thick and why it exploded, and every year we came back, it was exponentially more people spectating, coming to the Valley. And I said, it's what you gave. Like, you have to know you were a trailblazer in the sport and exposing the sport in a beautiful way, but also opening up to so many people that are creators now in the sport. And so Billy is, I'm a huge fan of Billy. He's like a brother to me. But we have so many precious, sweet memories of watching this sport change on so many levels, from contracts to content creation to seeing so many people come into the sport. I don't think I've ever been anywhere in the world, and Billy and I have been in races all over the world, from the Gobi Desert to, to Italy, to France, all over the United States, that people don't approach him and say, I'm in this sport because of you. And I'm like, you're not a professional athlete, you're not a coach, but look what you did. And I think that everyone has an opportunity to have that kind of influence, whether you're running or you're just someone in the neighborhood. Know that when you work at something with your whole heart, Billy's always done things out of passion because he loves it. And it's impacted so many people. Yeah,
so. We've talked about, like, Western Time on some previous podcasts, and we always called it, like, it was like a timeline shift in, especially like American ultra run.
Oh,
we were
my
like,
gosh!
Like, we were like, what does the sport look like if that didn't happen? Like, if Billy didn't make, like, we were like, I don't know, like, it might just, like, flatline, and, like, we're just, like, here talking about, like, triathlons or cycling.
I gotta share my favorite scene from the film, and it's not like an obvious one, but, like, there's a scene where you are huffing it uphill late in the race, and there's, like, people doing, like, wedding photos behind you and, like, Instagram selfies, and it's just so, like, contrasting. I'm like, this is so intense, but also, like, I can't stop cracking up at the people in the background, like, being like, and, like, doing, like,
I love it.
And there's Billy, like, tracking you.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I love it. It's so good. So good. It means a lot to me, I would say. This year especially, I mean, this marks 10 years. Billy and I keep talking about that. It's been a decade. He is going to be doing a film on my race.
Oh, really?
This year.
Oh.
Yeah. We don't know when it'll come out. He has an incredibly busy year and some other projects. It might be a 2025 film, but I get a little emotional, just the fact that I was given the opportunity to be here this weekend, given the opportunity to be on the start line. I mean, I have so much respect for all the people that are racing this weekend, and I know that it will be a new experience for me. Having first did it 10 years ago, the last time I did it was 8 years ago, but I couldn't help but just smile as we drove into this valley, remembering my first time and really the magic that is Western States and that people dream of being a part of, but just also paying homage to the fact that, like, my life changed after 2014 in so many ways. My whole life changed, and I feel like I don't think it's because I'm just this crazy talent. I'm not the best runner in the world. I'm not like, I just got lucky. I got lucky. I got into the sport at just the time. And, you know, I look at Pat Warhane, who chose me out of so many other women that were way better runners that could have been way better on the Nike Trail team. And I'm like, that's a gift. It's a chance. That was luck. Like, I will never, ever take that for granted. I don't take any day of my career for granted. And, you know, any great races that I've had, I'm just like so grateful for that, because I know it's a dream for thousands, for millions. And I always just want to encourage people, keep dreaming, because when I came in, I had 2 little kids. You know, I was 33 when I got signed. I was 33. Most people are looking at retirement across any sport at that time. You are considered old once you're hitting 34, 35, 36. And I was just getting started. And so that's the message I always love to share. I hope that's more of what I would be remembered for in the sport. You know, I mean, honestly, I keep all my medals and buckles in a box. Like, I really care so much about being able to use my platform to encourage other people to go after their dreams, to remember their value, to remember anything is possible. You know, I look at my career, I'm like, it is rare, but I'm like, go be rare then. Like, you know, I had so many things stacked against me in this sport. I mean, when I had young kids, even my mom friends were like, dude, what are you doing? Like, running in the mountains, you have 2 little kids, and then getting signed. And like, my first photo shoot was just comments of like, she's so big, she's so muscular, like, why is she signed? And I went through all of the different seasons and phases of feeling like I didn't belong here, and feeling like, yeah, maybe this is a joke, you know, or this is just by chance and it's all going to go away. But for whatever reason, I had people around me who believed in me, that were like, don't listen to that. Expect the critics. You're always going to have that. You could be the most perfect person on earth. You're going to have critics, but keep believing. And I think, you know, whether you are the person that's cheering on someone else, or you're the person that's going for that dream, we play a really important role as a community. You know, I think all too often, most people don't believe in themselves. Most people think the dream is too big, or I don't belong, or I don't fit that spot, or I'm past my prime. But man, you look at this sport, there's 70-year-olds lining up to do Western States, and they're crossing the finish line. You know, Finn, I know you just did Cocodona 250. I'm sure you were in shock to look at the start line, at the diverse people that are out there that believe they can travel 250 miles. There was a 17-year-old that finished. I mean, there's 70-year-olds that are finishing. And I just think that people are so wondrous, way more resilient, so much stronger and capable of what they think that they can do. And that is really what I've hoped to champion my entire career. Is that this hasn't been about me and like the races I've won or when I've got on the podium, but I am most proud of being able to stand and cheer and represent something that doesn't maybe always look like it fits, represent someone that maybe looks too old or past their prime, or is a mom or juggling business or whatever it is, and say, you can do it. You can keep believing and you can keep trying. And yeah, it's been like such a wild ride, but I think that people need to understand as they come into this sport that like there isn't like a one pathway. And that's what makes it so fun. Like, just come in and try, be a part of the community the way you can. And there's so much that you can do. But there's a lot of beautiful stories that have come out of the ultra and trail community that have inspired all of us. And there's a lot more to come. There's gonna be a lot more just this weekend. I can't wait for the stories that come out of this weekend's race.
Should we chat for a few minutes about Western States this
100%,
weekend?
100%.
That's why I'm here, right?
Well, I mean, also,
I think, but
like you said, there's the human element, right? We're here, like Western States is just like the entry point, and then we're getting into the human stuff. And so that's something I really appreciate about you. Yeah, I mean, Western this year. I mean, I was an avid follower of your 200-mile project last year, and it's part of what precipitated my time at Cocodona.
Which I have to highlight. Can we just pause and highlight, like, your first 250? You know, there's no such thing as a 200 unless it's on the track.
Really?
Wait, what?
None of the races are 200 miles. They're all over 200.
Yeah.
People say I'm transitioning to 200s. I'm like, let me know when you find one.
Yeah, all 200 plus.
Yeah, you did 250 miles in 70 hours. You're seventh place. That was probably the most competitive 200 plus mile race ever. You know, that's part of the reason why I went into 200s. I always said I'd never do them. I'm like, this is new. and it's going to explode, and I'm going to be a part of it, and we're going to do 3 films on it. I remember talking to Drew and Tyler. I was like, we are going to like charge the way. And so we're super excited because what we have seen as a result, all of those registrations exploded. And this year,
you can't get into Cocodona anymore.
You can't.
It's sold out.
This year, I know. I've talked to Jamil about it. I've talked to Candace about it. It's like this year, all the fields are way more competitive. And I'm like, that is the power of content. Yeah. That is the power of just like, we just need people to get out there and do it, showcase, tell the stories, and say, this is a legit distance. Because 10 years ago, I was like, that's not a legit distance. That's weird, dude. That's like how much are you actually running? Like, I used to say that. And I remember when Courtney did them, Cameron Haynes did them, David Goggins, and you just kind of thought they were like these weird one-off things. And like, there wasn't really anybody else racing them. But then like in the past year, you know, Jamil like nudged me. He's like, dude, just come out and do it. And one of the reasons why I thought I could actually do it was because we did the Choose Strong project the year before. I ran the 500, did that crazy thing. And I was like, wow, I didn't get injured. Let's go do all the 200s and like, let's just like see what happens. But that's what excites me about the sport too. You expose it, you tell stories about it, and you make it normal. I mean, none of my performances were amazing. I mean, I suffered through every one, just slaughtered feet. But like, I think that's also kind of what made this story relatable for a lot of people. They're like, hey, that's how I feel every time I run, even a marathon. Like, I'm struggling. And I think that watching you go out and do it, just, hey, I'm just going to go do it and place in the top 10. I mean, I love following your race, and everyone, like, they're taking pictures, the updates. You did it so well.
That was Scott Hickenlooper. Okay. That was Scott Hickenlooper.
Well,
he's out of frame.
But he
packaged it. It was his packaging.
It is a great way. You guys packaged it in the right way. And I thought that was one of my favorite accounts to follow during the race. Pictures were amazing. The captions were great. Just the whole journey. And then seeing you do it in 70 hours, dude, that's incredible. I hope you keep going. I hope you keep after it. Because now there's 300s. Candace was like, Sal, you ready for the 300? I'm like, well, I'm still recovering from the 200s. I can't even think about that. But when are we going to stop? I mean...
Well, do you go back to them this year or next year? Is that something that you want, like the multi-day stuff? You want to return to?
I love the 200. I would love to go back with a healthy body. I mean, after Cocodona, the races were so close together, I could never, my feet were never able to heal. So I knew at one point they were going to open up again in each race. So I had to have a conversation with myself after Cocodona. It was going to be, hey, you know what? We did the 250. Let's come back next year and do the Grand Slam. We'll heal up. Or I was just going to stick to what I set out to do and say, let's just do the best with what we have and see what happens. And it was painful, physically painful, but you know, I never had a broken bone. I didn't destroy my organs. Like, I was actually pretty amazed at how well I was able to push through stuff that I didn't think I was able to push through. I mean, it taught me a lot about myself, and I grew as an athlete in that in ways that I thought I was done growing in. And so I'm very grateful for that experience. But I would love to go back and see how well I could actually race a 200. It's a different event. I thought I could go in and be like, oh, we're just doing hundreds back to back. No, you're not. It's like, it is not 100 mile races. It's there's a respect. You know, you get to 160, 180, and you're like, how do I still have 70, 80 miles to go? Like, that's insane. But yeah, I'd love to go back and do it again. And I hope you do too.
I hope so too. And actually, this is something that Brett and I have talked about a lot. Scott and I have talked about a lot. Brett did it at Javelina with Nike. I did it with Goreware at Cocodona. This idea of like the project-based athlete.
Yes.
Where you don't necessarily sign long-term with the brand, but like you have this vision for a cool race project or FKT project, and you go to them and just say, hey, like, you want to support this.
Very good.
And that's how we did it. And it made my race possible.
Yeah.
You had a great golden ticket near shot at Javelina, and then the next year Nick is like, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool new occurrence that I'm very interested in.
Well, it's low key, been under the radar. That has been going on for a couple years, but it is one of the best ways to get in with a brand. You come, show them the deck. I don't know if anyone knows what the deck means.
Send them the decks.
Yeah. You show them the deck of like, here's who I am. Here's my team. This is the goal. This is what we can offer you. This is the race. Here's the shots you can get. Here's the video. I mean, if you can package that up, it's basically a business proposal. Like I said, you come at these things with business proposals, you can make an amazing career out of that. And companies love stories. Storytelling it's one of the most powerful things. You see it whether it's a car or a food product. People want to tell stories because that's how you get to the heart of a person. That's how you bring them into your company and get them to buy something. So if you have an idea, I love that you guys did that. It's a great way to, get a project supported. And for us, I had amazing sponsors. And so when we did our films last year, all of them were I had sponsors that were just we don't even need you don't even need to give us any assets. If you're making a film, we know you're in our product and it's going to be a great film. And it elevated everyone that was with us. So for Drew and Tyler, that elevated their careers. I mean, what they've accomplished in the last 2 years is wild. From the Choose Strong project to covering all the Grand Slams. I'm your resumes forever now are so stacked.
Amen.
And I was so grateful for that. Sarah Tar, Hillary, same for them. They've gone out and covered the 200s. I mean, some of the pictures that they've been able to shoot, Badwater. I mean, you get out and you do project-based, you have to look at everyone that's in your circle that's going to be able to benefit. And I think that's wise. As I've moved on in my career, I've told myself over and over again, I'm not here because I'm great. I'm here because I've always had an incredible team supporting me. And if you can find good people that you trust, and people that work hard, that's the number one. You got to put in the reps. This isn't about money in the beginning.
You got to grind.
It isn't. You got to do the grind. People are always where's the money? It's no. Billy and I spent years with no money. Western Time was no money. And if he did get anything from it, it was long gone after the weekend, of Western States. And I think that's where you really start to see who you truly are and what you're capable of and what your true creative talents are. When you're doing it for nothing, you're doing it because you love it. You're out there grinding, you learn a lot. And I think that if you build up a team of people that are willing to work, what happens after that is amazing. And I just see that. I see that for Drew, for Tyler, for Billy, Hillary, Sarah, Tar. They'll all be out there. Sarah, they're all gonna be out there shooting. But all of their lives have changed, and they've grown in the sport and been able to make a living because of it. So yeah, the models and the ways that you can come into the sport and make a living out of it, it's not just being first at Western States. And it used to be that. You used to have to be first at key races, and that was kind of it. So, oh yeah, we were going to talk about
we got to talk Western.
Yeah.
I mean...
How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Excited? How's the training?
Or does the audience want to hear how I'm feeling? I don't know.
Do you feel the Western States magic in the same way as 10 years ago, or has that evolved in any way? What's it like, getting ready to line up at 5 a.m. on Saturday?
Oh man, it's definitely. I still feel the magic. I'm like a little kid.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm someone who loves to look for the excitement and the joy and where is the blessing in all of this and everything I do. I think if I ever lose the wonder in what I'm doing, I need to take a step back and ask myself why. But I believe that every day I get to do my job, it is a dream come true. Yeah. There was a lot of years that I was like, dude, I'm not getting signed again. There's no way that I'm gonna get signed again, or just because I was getting older that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have people still believing in me, but I think every day I've gotten to do this, I'm like, this is such a gift. So, we flew up here last night. We stayed in Auburn. Me and my daughter, Mackenzie, we ran around the track this morning. We ran it from Rotary Point. I've got the race nerves. I went up to Eddie and gave him a big hug, and I was like, I got race nerves. This is crazy, but it's just really the excitement and joy. It's the wonder about what could happen. Having raced it 3 times, I've also paced it 3 times. I've been out here to commentate a couple times. It is it can be a painful race, but the stories that come out of it are so exciting. So I think it's all of that. I got those race nerves, but yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Has it changed? Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think just the community as a whole has, not in a negative way, but it's just you see how, you know, the new people coming in. We have a lot of people that are coming in straight from college and people like straight from maybe a road background that are coming in and changing, you know, the face of the sport or just how the community operates. And I think there's a lot of good in that. But I'd say, you know, 2014, it was a little bit more like raw, you know, and people were still kind of like figuring things out, and yes, brands were brand new, and so they were trying to like understand how to work with athletes, you know, that year too. Like, what do we do, and how much do we ask our athlete to do, and how much space do we give them, and all the brands, that was their first time experiencing Western States. So now the brands come in and they're dialed in. They're awesome. They know how to operate. They know what to do. They know how to treat their athletes, and yeah, it's like I said, to be able to be a part of it for 10 years and watch it just rise it's such a gift.
I think one of the things that I want to go deeper on that you just mentioned is growing the total number of people in this sport and bringing people in from new perspectives, backgrounds. You have great perspective on the hybrid athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking offline. I'm not sure if it got online, but like Nick Bear is going to be here this weekend pacing you.
Yeah.
Nick Bear from BPN.
Yes.
A lot of people know him from multi-discipline athletics. Has built an incredible business.
Yeah.
Talk about like your observations on seeing him get increasingly more interested in Western States, in ultra running, and sort of like the audience and participants that he's bringing into our world.
Yeah. Nick Bear is, his company BPN is one of my sponsors, but Nick Bear is actually, I consider him a dear friend. I know him and his wife, his daughter, Charlie. We connect on many different levels. And as a human being, Nick is one of the hardest workers that I've ever met. And I think that's why I so appreciate any chance that we get to collaborate on something, or just like have a conversation, because I've gained a lot of insight from him over the years, but his journey into what he's doing now is so admirable, because just as I was talking about Billy, Nick started with just kind of documenting stuff that he was doing. He was trying to build a nutrition company from his house, and he would kind of document with his camera like what he was doing, but then also the activities that he was doing. He's an amazing athlete. It's incredible the paces that he can run. He's a big guy.
240 at CIM.
Yeah. Yes.
And he can bench press like 400 pounds.
Yeah, sub 240. He's going for even faster marathon time this year. And that's, it's wild how multifaceted he is. But one of the things that I really appreciate about Nick was in 2021, it was right after I had won Badwater. Somehow, I don't know if people had told him about me, or somehow we had got connected. I had kind of like just become aware of him, and he had just become aware of me. And I think we both kind of recognized, like, dude, we're kind of doing the same thing. like we both run far and we love to lift. We both love to content create. We both love to work hard. I've always loved having a job and creating things, and he's the same way. And so we're like, all right, dude, like, let's get in a podcast room and like, let's just talk. We ended up talking for hours, but after I went home, I watched his Leadville 100 film. So I don't know if you've seen that. It has like a couple million views on that. And I messaged him after I watched it. I said, the best part about this film is how you took the time to showcase the people around you. And you made that film about your crew and the experience you guys had as a team out there. And I go, because of that, that will bring people into the sport. And it's true. You go to Austin, Texas, and every runner I meet there is like, yeah, I run half marathons, but next year I'm running Leadville. I can't tell you how many people think that the entry point to ultras now, I'm not kidding, is Leadville. Like, he grew that race, the attention on the race, the getting into that race because of that.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
He created a portal.
And here's the thing. When I started ultra running, I barely knew about the sport. I would go and do Google searches, try to look up ultra runners on Facebook so I could get my questions answered. There wasn't a lot out there. There's still a lot of people that are trying to understand the sport. There's way more content out there. But if you follow Nick, he's got millions of followers and he's someone of great influence. They look at how he trains because he documents it. And they're like, okay, that's what I need to do. Then when he entered ultras, they're like, okay, that's what I need to do. Leadville. I need to do, this is how I need to train, this is what I need to do. And it just shows the power of really good, well done content. This is what I was saying, you, Finn, you did content right at Cocodona. More people are going to come and register for Cocodona because of the story you told. And I think for Nick, he is bringing in a completely different audience. So it's not just the runners. I mean, I meet people all the time now when I'm training at the gym that will come up to me like, dude, Sally, like, I'm not a runner yet, but I love you and Nick, because Nick and I have done 4 like pretty strong podcasts on his. And so people are like, dude, I know you from his podcast. And I'm not running yet, but I want to start running and I want to do Leadville. And I'm like, it's so funny that's it's Leadville. And then after I won Badwater, we did a Badwater episode. So then it's also Badwater. So people want to do Badwater and they want to do Leadville. It's amazing just showcasing that because of the content, that is why. Mm-hmm. So if he had run Speed Goat 50K, it would be Speed Goat. Yeah. If he would have done a film on Speed Goat, then everyone would think, okay, I need to get into ultras by running Speed Goat. So content's powerful. Putting out those stories are powerful, but I just love that Nick tags a completely different community, a whole different audience, and a community that has also maybe felt like, I lift, bro, so I don't run, and I can't run, and I also don't belong in there. This year, my husband did LA Marathon.
I saw that.
I could not believe how many bros were out there with the Go One More red hat that look like Nick, that are big and mushy, running the LA Marathon. Like, I was so excited. Like, I would go up to all of them, like, yeah, go one more, let's go. Like, this is amazing, because the idea of running isn't, and maybe it's old school thinking, but it's like that you have to be just lean and small and petite. We always sometimes only equate it to what the elites are doing, right? But it's like, dude, running is like the most normal, natural thing for any able body. Like, you don't learn how to run. It's the next thing you do after you learn to walk. You watch any toddler. Like, they learn to walk, and then pretty soon they just move their legs faster, they're running. So this idea that, like, no, you don't fit, and, you know, even what I experience, you're too muscular, you're too big, you're this. It's like, no, this is just like, we're just like all here doing something that's supernatural. So I think that, you know, for Nick, exposing it in that way has been really good for the sport. And we're seeing all different people that feel comfortable being out here, you know.
It makes me excited for what the next portal could be. So Nick brought his audience via Leadville. Exactly. And they, for some reason, choose like Angeles Crest or something. Like, that becomes the next thing.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, he'll be out here. He'll pace me at Forest Hill. I was like, dude, you got to do Forest Hill. It's like the most exciting. You know, when I asked him to pace me, I was like, listen, this will be on your list after you do it. Like, you will run Western States, Nick, and I'm excited to see what you bring to Western States. I'm excited to see that one day when you run it, how that will impact the community and the way it'll help our sport, the way it'll elevate it. But Nick is great because he puts his whole heart 110% into anything he does. And so I think that'll be really fun because, you know, a lot of times we don't get to see how people train for Western States, especially the elites. They're very secretive about it. I don't know why. It's like we're all kind of doing the same thing, dude. You just got to show up and put the reps in. But like Nick is good at like really detailing the breakdown of every single thing that he does to prepare for something. So I'm super stoked for that. But most importantly, his whole team, BPN team that he's bringing, none of them have ever been out here. And I was telling someone the other day, my college roommate had never been to the ocean. And I'm from Huntington Beach. Born and raised the beach. I could not wait to take her to the ocean. And I feel like that's what it is when you bring someone to Western States for the first time. If someone's on your crew and they've never been out here, or they're pacing you, or it's a brand new up and coming brand that gets to experience, you know, their first athletes at Western States, it is so fun to be with them. It's so fun to be like, isn't it great? Isn't it awesome? Like, this is so cool. So I keep telling Nick that. I'm like, I'm so excited that I get to be with you guys for your first time experiencing Western States. Like, I can't wait to see how you guys live Western States this week, and just I want you to enjoy every part of it and interact with as many people as you can. So I said, so you are pacing me at Forest Hill because that is the best place to start pacing. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, you have such a good, I mean, it sounds like you have such a fun crew. Like your village is set. Yeah. What does a successful Western States look like for you this year?
Oh man, a successful Western States in my mind. I'm not going to say just getting to the finish line. I feel like that's been my motto, especially the last 2 years. I'm like, I think about the what I went through in the 200s. That's just like a non-negotiable for me. Mm-hmm. Like we're getting to the finish line. So that's just like, that's part of what we do. So that isn't necessarily my line of success. Like I'm here, I was given this opportunity, we're getting to the finish line. Yeah. So now when I think about, okay, what are the things that I want to do on the way to getting to the finish line? That's kind of like how I like to focus on any race, is how I can be better. And that's actually my goal at the beginning of every year, is even though I've been in the sport for 10 years, all right, Sally, can you actually be better? And I think that being better is about, a lot of it is mental, how you respond to every situation. I think I've grown a lot. It's taken me a lot throughout my career to grow in that area, especially in the really uncomfortable situations. But, after doing this race 3 times, my goal is just to be better in every area than I ever have been. And, I didn't know if I was going to come back to Western States after my 3rd time doing it. I got top 10 the first 2 years, and I kind of felt like, dude, that was Sick. The dream. Like the dream was to be in top 10. I get to hold on to that for the rest of my life. Like I feel like every runner that's trying to like really make it in the sport, like if you can be in the top 10, like you get to wear that badge for the rest of your life. So after 2016, my goal was to race internationally. Like I primarily I wanted to see the world. And I said, I'm not, I don't know if I'll come back. And so when I was offered the spot, I thought, man, what is my goal going to be? Because I have a lot of deep respect for the returning top 10 women, all the women that got a golden ticket. So, I think going in, like I would have hoped and like don't expect to be included in any of those conversations. Like I just don't think I have a place to be included in those conversations. But I have also said that when I go and train, I always train with the expectation to train like a champion. So I keep that at the forefront, because training like a champion, standing at the start line like I'm going to win, is just an effort. That's the effort that you are telling your mind. Would a champion do this? If you're winning, would you do this? If you're winning, is this how you're going to respond? If you were in first place and this went wrong? And I think keeping a champion mindset is about so much more than where that lands me in the race. I mean, I could be 40th place. I could win, you know? It doesn't, I could, I think that throughout my entire career, that's been like a really strong point for me, that is what a successful race is. It's keeping a champion mindset and giving my best every step of the way, because that's my responsibility. I think that when you're given an ability and you're not giving 110% in training, you're not giving 110% in the race, when things go wrong, you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the field of competition a disservice, you're doing the sport and the opportunity, because there's a lot of people that wish that they could have my spot, right? There's a lot of people that wish they could have a spot at Western States. And so that is a successful race. Keep a champion mindset and give my best every step of the way. And who knows where that's going to land me. But I think that I'll have a great day out there if I can just do that.
Maybe the last question for you, if you could give a message or a mantra to your fellow runners on Saturday, like a proper send-off, because you've been here before, you've had this experience, a lot of newcomers this year. What would it be? What would you say to them? What would you want them to consider?
Well, it's hard to dial it down to one, but there's 2 things, and I actually did post about both these. So the first one is don't quit in the middle. And the middle of the race, in any race or in life, is the hardest part for all of us, because we're just far enough away from the finish line that we don't hear the cheers, the lights, that it is easy to say, this hurts too much, it's too uncomfortable, I'm not as good as I thought I was, or this is not my race. Don't quit in the middle, because when it's the hardest, that is where you are carved into a stronger person. That is how you get strong. I think too often we think we become strong when we achieve. We become strong in the struggle. And that's the only way to become stronger. The struggles that you use in Saturday's race could be what makes you the champion in the race a year down the road, 2 years down the road. Nobody becomes strong and great by having a smooth path. And so I like to encourage people to tell themselves, I'm not gonna quit in the middle. I'm gonna go write a freaking amazing story. Go write a story that's amazing. Every great story has a turning point. If it's smooth sailing the whole time, your story is boring. And I'll tell you what, no one has a boring story because no life is perfect and we all have failures, setbacks, and challenges. And so if we can just remember that when we're racing, my race will be imperfect. It will be hard. I am going to have setbacks. It is going to hurt. I'm going to go write a great story because the apex of this story is that it's going to turn and it's going to end in a way that we didn't think, right? And I think that whether you're back of the pack, middle, or the front, everyone can say that. And then the main message that I give all the time is that you are so much stronger than you think you are. I really don't think that most people understand just how strong they are. And one of the reasons is because they operate in the parameters in which somebody else told them to stay. And whether that's because they had a failure or they were embarrassed or a fear, we kind of stay in this one way and expect ourselves to always be in one way. And I say, bust through that and show yourself how strong you are. So if you're struggling out there on race day, show yourself how strong you are and take another step.
Sally, we cannot thank you enough for your time. This has been amazing. We're wishing you the best on Saturday. The live chat has been loving it.
All the yellow hearts, y'all are going to make me cry. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you.
Both you guys keep doing what you're doing. I mean, thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been so fun, you guys.